Ladies and gentlemen of the internet, welcome back to the channel. This is episode 6 of Two Bros, One Blockchain. And this weekend, we had the biggest liquidation in crypto history, actually just last night. And so we had to bring an episode. I'm going to be honest with you. If I could choose a day not to talk about crypto, it would be today because, damn, this weekend was a rough one. So we're going to get into it. We're just going to discuss what we're feeling and obviously get into the altcoins that we're interested in at this point, or and just discuss if we still think that things are as good as we thought a week ago. But anyway, Alex, I know you want to take it away with some macro and just some intro thoughts.
Yeah, hope everyone's doing well this evening. If your bags are down, don't worry, we feel your pain as well. So pretty brutal, right? Especially for anyone that's kind of been DCAing over these last few weeks, right? Or even past month or two. Um, Probably buying some prices that we thought were good dip opportunities, and we're gonna kind of launch onto this next all-time high, right? I think we were all hoping that we'd start pushing towards 120K here, but that obviously was not the case. Do I still think that we're gonna see a pretty solid run in BTC coming up? Yes, I do, right? And especially with Ethereum. I think Ethereum's looking really good. I know Eric Trump just posted buy Ethereum, thank me later, and I'm seeing it all over X right now. So uh, we're gonna get into that in a second, right? And I'll kind of come back to that point with World Liberty, but going back to essentially what just happened, right? So um, tariffs are a big piece right now. Trump is trying to come in, and his administration is trying to put pressure on these countries to secure the borders, get the cartels under control, all that political stuff that you may or may not care about, right? However, what they're trying to do is also bring back manufacturing jobs, right? Either do your fair share and pay, the U.S. And make better trade deals with us, or we are going to tariff everything and also bring those jobs and manufacturing positions back to the United States. So, arguments there, right? There's Canada and the Mexican economy. They're basically dealing with upwards of almost 70% of their GDP in some cases coming from the U.S. So they only make up about 2.7% of the American total GDP in terms of what we export back. So in terms of a trade war, right, we would send them into probably a depression if we actually were to hike up these tariffs and actually place them on them. And Trump knows that, and that's why he's using that leverage to brokerage these deals. But uh, this caused a huge sell-off, right? And I think if the stock market was open yesterday, we would have seen a massive sell-off in stocks, right? But however, because they got turned around today, and the stock market didn't have time to take in that news as much as the crypto market did. One of those cases where the 24/7 piece to crypto, I think, was didn't protect us in the way that we would like. So sometimes it's nice that we are a little separated from the stock market, right? We get those weekend pumps, which sometimes lead to Monday dumps, but overall, it's usually beneficial for us to be able to trade, right, on a 24/7 scenario. Yesterday was not the case, right? We kind of ate that news. Monday, everything got corrected, but it was too late. We liquidated down, like Dante said, largest liquidation since COVID, and and the FTX collapsed there. So overall, right, pretty brutal day. Ethereum dropped very, very heavily, and I think we can kind of talk a little bit more in detail further into this episode, just to kind of talking about how Ethereum and can really decouple from Bitcoin, right? Like Bitcoin didn't have that much of a drawdown. And then when you look at ETH, it absolutely got slaughtered, which if ETH goes down 15-20%, alts drop probably like 40-50. So it got pretty brutal there. And that's essentially what happened. Um, like I said, luckily we saw a very quick turnaround because of the power of the American economy. Mexico and Canada folded very, very quickly, and they now have postponed those tariffs 30 days out. So I think that gives plenty of time for negotiations to get basically figured out. And I do think that you're going to turn around and not see these tariffs come into play for real. They'll just be hypothetical threats, essentially, to their economies until we see the results that the Trump administration wants for America. So that's essentially what happened. If you're not up to date with it, but yeah, let's kind of roll over to the decoupling of Ethereum to Bitcoin. So Dante, what did you like and what did you dislike? Let's kind of I think we should separate it. Is there any altcoins that you thought were showed positive momentum compared to the rest of alts? And then
Um,
on top of that, what do you think about the idea that Ethereum is no longer tied to Bitcoin as heavily as it was in the past? And I know this has been a common theme that we've been talking about. Um, Institutions, governments uh, are all kind of changing the shape of crypto, right? Bitcoin is kind of becoming its own island, and then alts are all on another island with Ethereum. So, what are your thoughts on that?
yeah, I think we talked about this in the last couple podcasts, and this weekend made it more obvious than ever that at least for now, the way the cycle's playing out, there's a huge a huge influx into Bitcoin and a lot of new money into Bitcoin, and really none of that money has trickled into what the altcoins and what most crypto natives are trading. So really, it's like the people who are more invested in crypto. So the more the crypto native people, they're the ones feeling the effects of not owning any Bitcoin and basically just you know 30% overnight, whatever your portfolio is in. If you're in memes, down 60-70%, all while Bitcoin's like at $95,000. Basically, just making it obvious that there's nothing really worth holding at the moment other than Bitcoin, unless there's a select few assets, maybe XRP, a few of these coins that haven't dumped very hard. So it's interesting. I think the market is completely different now compared to the last couple cycles, and we have to play it differently. And that's so even since this weekend, I'm kind of like trying to revise my approach on how I look at this market because I think it's not going to be like this broad based alt season. And yeah, even things like Caspa, fundamentally great, but like now I'm looking at the chart and I'm like, unless a lot of new money comes into this chart, am I going to get the returns I want? And that's going to be the case for a lot of tokens. I think Alex, you're probably realizing this too. Like we all see it. Like not every project, even if it's really good fundamentally, is going to do well. So that's kind of a hard pill to swallow. So I don't know how you're feeling. I mean, watching the markets, just it almost seemed calculated the way everything dipped so crazy. A lot of people got wrecked on leverage, which again, it's like when I first got into crypto, I leverage traded, and for whatever reason, like it's really easy for beginners to get advertised to leverage trade, and it's probably the most risky way to trade crypto. Like crypto is already so risky, but like obviously, people gamble and try and leverage trade with high, 50x leverage and get wrecked. And now most of the crypto native people have basically run out of capital. So this is going to be an institutionally like driven rally if we have one. And I think they're going to go. And I'm looking at the plays that they're going to go into there. I also think it's interesting, like World Liberty Financial, what they're holding. Eric Trump, they openly bought ETH like $1,000 ago, and now they're down millions and millions of dollars. So obviously they don't think ETH is dead. They hold Ondo as well, which is like a huge in the RWA sector. The performance of the token has been good. A lot of FUD around the tokenomics and the unlocks with seed investors or whoever it is. That FUD kind of was disproven in this last couple of days because it's held up very well. So I think there's a few alts. Long story short, what I'm trying to get at here, Alex, is there's a few alts we can look at and say like, all right, let's trade these and watch the market as it plays out and see if they're catching a bid and they're still relevant to the cycle. And then cut the losers as quickly as you can. I think there's no point in holding on to 10, 15 alts. I mean, like even more than that, like 15, 20 alts, 10, 15 alts. I know maybe some people are willing to do it, but it's like the concentration of your portfolio should be in a few high conviction plays. But yeah, I don't know, Alex. What are you thinking? Are like your top, like what are the ones you want more of, or you would have bought on that dip? Because I really think I bought a lot of Tau. I bought some ETH. I bought some Arrow, which are they're not shocking. I bought Caspa and then ended up selling some Caspa. Like,
Yeah, so I'm gonna keep referencing right like some big players here. So I'm gonna talk about Dennis Porter in just a minute here and what he was kind of saying recently. But we'll come back to Bitcoin. But essentially, right, I was looking over here today at what World Liberty. So they actually just made a huge purchase of Ethereum last night. So basically headline here. They bought 86,000 ETH at World Liberty Finance in the past 7 hours. That was earlier this afternoon. So that's kind of like early morning, late last night. And now they have a total of $422 million in Ethereum. So allocation is currently at 65%. Then you had Eric Trump come out today and say, hey, buy Ethereum, you'll thank me later, right? So keep thinking of ETH as ready to pop off, right? It is making higher lows. It is, I know we keep coming down and retesting, but it is continuing to make those higher lows. And I do think we're going to see a pop off very, very soon. And I think the key here is just the way that you're kind of viewing the market, right? It's like, how much pain do we physically have to endure as investors, as retail investors here, to ensure that we see the alt season, and even if it's not alt season, but a huge run up, right? For alts before that blow off top comes in and everything settles, right? So when you're thinking about that, I'm basically looking at ETH, right? So ETH is trying to basically tell us where it wants to go, and you have to be able to look at it and say, hey, what is it doing? Is there room for it to go up? And I really do think that it is showing that it will pop eventually. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen in the next few days. I know we've all been waiting on it, but I do think it's something that can happen in the short term, right? So hopefully happens within the next month or two. And once we start to see ETH truly break above 4K and confirm, we're going to start to see these alts really, really run up. But right now, everything is kind of just shaking us out, right? I don't think anybody, like you were also saying, Dante, has more money to DCA into this market. And that makes it difficult, right? Because people are basically stuck in their positions. They're either selling out and trying to buy back in lower. If you sold that bottom, you're probably in a really bad spot right now, right? Because what that V-shaped recovery was absolutely it was a dirty play. Like just kind of looking at what that probably did to people. If you bought in these last few weeks or last 2 months, and say you bought something like Arrow, right, towards $2, right? Maybe you bought in thinking it was going to 3, and now it came back down to $1, and then it went down to 85 cents, and you were like, I just need to cut this before it goes to 20 or 30 cents, and I get absolutely wrecked, and you sold right there. You just lost more than half your money, and then it spiked all the way back up to $1, and that's not only is that a brutal loss, but you're going to have so much conviction to buy back in at $1 and say, hey, I'm going to take that 75% loss on my initial position, throw it back in above what I sold at, and then hope that it doesn't go down again and wreck me even further than it already has. So that really, really scares people. And as it should, right? And that's why, again, if you're looking over at X, posted today, like, did not sell a single thing. I'm not going to sell when we're at max pain, right? It makes zero sense. We're already crushed. If you rode from $2 down to 80 cents on something, chances are, like, you're better off just probably riding it down to 50 cents if that's what's going to happen, and then hope that everything just recovers in the next few weeks and you get back up towards $1. Like, that to me is the better play. When you start cutting on these super red days, you get the chance that you're going to see exactly what happened, which is Bitcoin went down towards 90K, and the speed at which that flew back up was absolutely insane. No one, probably very few people, can catch that. And then you just overall get wrecked. So two coins that I'm looking at that actually look good, right, is XRP, still up 22% over the past 60 days. Bitcoin up almost 4.5%. And then the only other one in the top 100 that I'm looking at that's really up is Aave, and you're looking at 10.5%. Everything else is between 20 and about 55%, actually almost 60% down over the past 60 days. So these alts, it's been a long, slow bleed. But the good news here is that Bitcoin still has the life in it, right? So even if Ethereum's down, Bitcoin is sitting at 101.5K. And that is what's essentially giving me that it's that beacon of light that's saying, okay, the ship isn't sinking here. Because if Bitcoin was to truly roll over and started going down towards 70K, then I think we'd be having a different conversation here. But currently at the moment, with Bitcoin still holding strong, Ethereum putting in higher lows, it's just pain that we're going to have to endure to finally see the Holy Land at the end here. But Dante, anything to follow up on there?
Yeah, I think um if you didn't have a chance to allocate, this is your time to do it. If you don't do it now, you might not get the chance. Um
Last night was even better.
Last night was even better. I mean, yeah, that was crazy. I think I can only speak to just like what we were doing at the time. Like honestly, I was not really paying attention to, other thing. It's the weekend, so I'm trying not to pay attention to crypto. But then when things are happening and prices are moving down so rapidly, um, it's you have to be able to take advantage of those things or those opportunities when they come. Um, if you believe that prices are going higher. So for me, it's just like I'm already allocated to the market. When things start going down, 20, 30%, it does suck to look at it. Some positions we've been building for a while, like down 30%, like it's not a good feeling to see that. But um, at least I've always tried to maintain from last cycle versus this cycle the difference where we have been. And at this point, I'm fully allocated. But for the most part, I've always had or made sure I've had a percentage that I can allocate for these big dips, so it hurts less. So at least I can catch the dip or lower my cost basis on certain plays that I'm building. Um, and then overall, like I said, like if you're really in this market, like you'll be able to identify pockets of strength and identify how some of these coins operate within this current cycle. And then just look for times where they're at a good price. I think, SWI, Tau, and a few other coins that had a lot of strength, just or showed a lot of strength during the last couple of days, are ones that you want to load when they're basically the same price they were a year ago on a capitulation wick. Like it's an unbelievable opportunity if the market does end up going higher. So I think what's happening right now is memes are getting destroyed. Things that are really of no use, no utility are getting destroyed. The you know, as Raul Paul says, like don't F this up. Um, you know, find assets that are going to be potentially adopted by institutions or, things that have a clear use case in technology or and are being used in space that have like some sort of utility. Just hold on. Not everything's going to do well. You have to be kind of smart about which ones are going to do well, but hopefully over time, like they're going to perform well. So it's basically just, making sure you preserve capital. Don't get involved with leverage. And hopefully you can take advantage of dips like this. But of course, like times like this remind me, like eventually the music will stop for a lot of this the hyper speculation in the market, and we have to be aware of when that comes. It's very easy to see when crypto Twitter is super greedy or we're closer to a local top because everyone is, posting these crazy, P&Ls and acting as if, you know, everyone is winning and you're the only one who's not winning. This is just not reality, guys. So most people are not winning, and most people have already, unfortunately, crypto people are wiping themselves out on leverage, like people who have dedicated years to the space. So like just spot, buy things, accumulate things you believe in spot and hold for now. And if things change, things change. But I think like how is crypto not going to do well if the rest of risk assets are going to do well because of the money printing and all of that? Like if I'm going to bet on something at this point, it's going to be crypto, and not all crypto, very specific ones. But it's going to be some, I'm going to have an allocation to crypto uh, moving forward. I'm not going to lower that just because of what happened the other day or last night.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. I would say there's really only two types of ways to kind of look at spot buying right now. Like if you are someone that's truly worried about losing right at these levels, like hey, I can't afford to lose any more money, or I just think it's too risky. You can put a stop limit in to sell out. So say for example, I bought something, it was worth $1 currently. Set a stop limit somewhere around like 95 cents. You want to give yourself a little room to breathe, right? You don't want it to go down 2 cents, kick you out, and then all of a sudden it goes up 40 cents, right? and then you want to give a little bit of room below, so it can go up and down if need be. But have that say at 95 cents. And now guess what? If it goes down 5%, and it keeps going lower, then you got kicked out. Obviously not ideal because you lost 5% of your investment, but at least you have your peace of mind. That's all you've lost, right? And then the other way to look at it is just basically hold through the dip, right? And just know that you bought solid projects. You have conviction in altcoins and Bitcoin and Ethereum for the rest of this year, or until we start to see signals of a top, right? Which again, we will be putting forth for all of you right here on this podcast and on our X page if you want more up to date info. Obviously, we can't do these every day. But the point that I'm getting at here overall, right, is we want to avoid selling on a red day, right? You want to avoid it at all costs. If you bought quality projects and they're down 20, 30, 40, 50%, you're probably better off just holding, right? You're probably better off just holding because the way these markets move with these V shapes, right? Look at the last 2 or 3 times that Bitcoin spiked down from in the 100K level to 109, and then all of a sudden went back down to the lower 90s. It comes up so fast, it's unbelievable. I don't think I see Bitcoin touching the 80s, right? And you have to know that once we're towards that 90 to 92K level, that we're probably about to launch back up at least to like towards like 94, 95K, and then hopefully regain back into the 100K level. So if you're selling at that 90 to 92K spot, you're probably selling at the bottom. You're probably getting played out, and you're probably going to either lose money and have to buy back in higher, or even worse, you lose the money and you now have no conviction in the market, and now the crypto market just stole money from you essentially, and you're never going to have a chance of even getting it back. So that's why I say it's probably better off just to hold through the dip, and not kind of even think about it. You're better off just kind of waiting, closing your portfolio, and revisiting it in the next few days, and hopefully you see some solid recovery. And in a case like this, it took less than what, almost 14, 15 hours, and we're already up a ton, right? um some of these are pretty much close to where they were last week, right? They're not even that far off. Like, I'm looking at Arrow here, it hit $1 already today. So there's several altcoins here that you can kind of take a look at, and it's really, really not that painful, as long as you weren't sitting there just watching them while they were going down last night. Like, I personally, I saw it and I didn't even like sit on and watch the prices go down. I think I checked it like twice, and I just basically went to bed and was like, I'm just gonna wake up fresh slate, look at all the info. It's late, and hopefully we're in a much better spot. And that's exactly what happened. Tariffs got lifted, prices were up a ton when I woke up. So don't want to scare yourself. Don't want to start thinking crypto is dead forever, right? It's better just to kind of let it play out, I think, and revisit it in a few hours, and hopefully we start to see that really quick V-shaped recovery, which we've seen the last few times Bitcoin has dipped towards 90K. So that's just my peace of mind statement for you, and how to stay a little sane during these massive dips. They happen quick, but we bounce up quick just as well. Getting
Yeah.
into some altcoins that I really, really like. Obviously, absolutely loving the strength of XRP, Ondo, and Sui. I think they showed a ton of resilience on this dip. They really, really continue to just kind of prove themselves, right? Like, of course, they're going to sell off if the rest of the market's selling off. But overall, how well are they holding their levels, right? If something else is going down 50, 60%, and they're only going down 15 to 20, right? That shows a lot more strength compared to some of these other projects. And that's what you want to see on these dips. It shows not only that, it basically shows you that people have conviction, and people are scared to let go of that project. It proves community to you as well, right? And that's what you want to be a part of. These are, some of these altcoins, they don't even have that good of you know how do I put it, of a use case essentially, and they're really community driven, right? Some of these are there just because people know the name, and they may not be doing the biggest thing or have the best future ahead of them, but because the community is there, and people believe in it, they hold well. I don't think that's the case for XRP, Ondo, or Sui. I think they have real use case, strong community, and their price has been doing well because of that, and that's why those are in my top five, right? Um, Also coming back down, Arrow, right? I thought Arrow actually performed pretty well. The fact that it already has bled down
Barely went
pretty.
down, honestly, during that capitulation. Everything else was going down a lot more.
Yeah, I was very surprised, like to see it only go down. What is it, set to 75 cents, and it was sitting around $1 anyways, like 25%. I honestly, when I saw that, thought Arrow might go down closer to 50 cents. Um, but it didn't. So that's a pretty good sign for it as well. That it's kind of at that point where people, once it hits that level, people are going to start to buy back in, right? 75 cents. People are That's the buy opportunity that I think a lot of people have been waiting for, and they're going to pull that trigger in hopes that even if it goes down another 5-10 cents, they still locked in a great buy. And that's essentially what's happening here, right? People are kind of they're rolling the dice, right? They're taking a chance. How low do I let this thing go before I throw in? Because I want to get in. I've been waiting for this opportunity, but is it going to go down a lot further, or is it going to start going back up again? And I'm going to wish that I bought right now. Those are the two questions that you're always asking yourself on these dips when you're trying to throw more additional capital in. But another buy, right, that I still think is an even better buy than our last episode currently would be CRV. CRV sitting around 50 cents is, I think it even touched 42 cents, right? If you got in there, phenomenal for you. I think long term you're going to do exceptional with that one. So,
I think there's a chance you're going to be able to buy. I think, this is just my opinion, is
yeah.
I think you'll maybe have a chance to buy this one again on a retest. I've been looking at CRV. I almost bought it here, and I went with
Hmm.
Arrow instead.
Okay.
But I'm thinking, anything under 60 cents, this thing's probably, it was at almost $1.40 a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Obviously, a guy we follow, Cred, is big on CRV. He's the guy who kind of put me on, or I feel like kind of put us on
Yeah.
to
Put us
this one.
both on. Yep.
Um, and he's big on CRV. He's also big on XRP. Um, and yeah, the guy I've been following him forever. Alex, I know you've been following forever. Like, he has some good calls. I know he doesn't make everything correctly, but he does have a lot of good calls in CRV. He thinks it's going to do just incredible.
Yeah, I think it's going to do incredible as well. And like you said, I think if Ethereum pops off towards 4K and then goes further, I think you'll see a $2 CRV pretty quick. So if you were able to get in at like 40 cents, it would kind of be like getting into to Sui back when it was at that level. Because I think the potential for it to go to two, three, $4, $5, if Ethereum starts moving, upwards of 5, 6K is pretty strong. So definitely a great buying opportunity. Um, Jupiter held its ground very, very well. I really, really like Jupiter as well. Um, what would I buy though? Brett and VeChain continue to be two that I think are great buys. Convex Finance or CVX also a really great buy. Stacks towards $1 is a little gross to me. I really don't like how it broke down like that, but at the same time, if Ethereum starts moving, I think it'll go towards $3. It moves quick. It really does, right? It can go up very, very quickly and kind of come down, similar to Arrow. Uh, Kind of looking down here as well. Um, Superverse, Beam as well. I called out Beam in our last episode. Um, Moonwell is at a very, very low price point right now, but very risky, right? Same thing with Velodrome. Two that you can buy into, and they have a good use case, but they're sitting at 610 and 453 market cap rankings. So very, very small caps and very, very risky as well. Um, Dante, anything else that you're kind of looking at right now in terms of altcoins?
I think the only one, I think obviously Tau, that's the one I've been looking at. I think it has a lot of fundamental news driving it. It just got listed on Coinbase, but essentially they're releasing DTAU, which is just economies for the subnets. So a similar situation to like what Virtuals had, with their agents also being attached to the virtual token and then also having their own token for each of the agents. It creates an economy within the blockchain or within that project, and that's what Tau is essentially doing with all of their subnets. And I just think the narrative is really good. I think it's a decent one to trade as well. So when I say that, it's like Tau has pretty good levels that it's respected. In terms of obvious places where it's been a good buy versus obvious times when it's been a good time to take profit. The first time it went to $700, I sold out. The second time I didn't because I think that it's going higher from here. I think it is going to go higher than its all-time high. So yeah, it was tough to see my initial or like my actual bag of Tau go down so much because it literally hit $230. But at the same time, loading up here because I think with the narrative and then the reality that it's also the same tokenomics as Bitcoin, so it only has 21 million coins. I think there's a potential for this to, go somewhere higher. But of course, this is just because that's what I have conviction in, and also the project I've been following the longest since the bear, other than Caspa. So it's really dependent on what what you have conviction in. Because if you have conviction, one of the most important things that I was reminded of is like you have to think for yourself in this market. Like you can't go off of what other people are saying because at the end of the day, you need to build your own conviction in whatever you're doing. So just because I have this conviction in Tau and that's my play right now doesn't mean that's what you should be doing or that's what you should just subscribe to essentially. And that goes for anyone who's talking on the internet. It's just an example of like I'm focusing in on one coin and one project that I've seen constantly develop in a sector that is just the perfect, dissection of two really trendy and pivotal pieces of technology, blockchain and AI. So there's that. I think I don't know. I honestly don't. I think you, Alex, mentioned the only other ones that have strength. And honestly, when I look at like my watch list of coins, like I can't really say that any of these are ones that I want to be holding if, we see a prolonged, chop in the market where like some of this stuff could literally get chopped up so bad that like it doesn't come back, for a while. So
Yep, yep.
you have to be very, very careful with what you're going into. But of course, like we're going to see times once again where all of the greed and the froth comes back into the market. And I still think like anything in the AI sector has the most juice to run, but you have to remember like this stuff is so volatile. All of the things that we were talking about 2 weeks ago, all of them are down 70-80%. And you had to be, kind of paying attention. These are active trades you should be taking, not ones where you're kind of just like, hey, I'm going to go into these altcoins. I'm not going to pay attention to what's happening on the day to day because I have a thesis of 3 to 6 months. Like some of these you definitely have to actively watch, but I think Tau, again, like I said, Sui, I feel like the chart, um, it has gone up so much that I wonder if it gets a deeper correction from here, but it held up very well, like you said, on that crash, so maybe not. I think I'd be interested in Sui if it gets. I mean, see, like it's just all about if it actually comes back down here. There's no telling that it will. From a technical standpoint, like if any of you follow or care about technicals, I don't use it like religiously, but I do look at this stuff as just part of an analysis. You're getting mixed signals from the technicals. It says it's bottomed out in the stock, but if you look at this, the wave trend, the money flow is leaving the asset. But again, you have to have like a longer term horizon. Like Alex was talking about, he has conviction in these things for longer than just for a trade. So, at the end of the day, if it's a solid asset, it should perform well. And I think anything the Trumps own, you know, it would be really hard to imagine a world in where any of the things that they own don't perform well, because I feel like everyone being onboarded onto crypto right now is going to obviously start buying the things that the Trumps own because they just assume, even if they really don't have any insider information, like they're just going to assume that they do and start bidding all of the things in the portfolio. um or
Yeah,
at
I
least
know.
that's how I
I
see it.
know Eric Trump was in Abu Dhabi, and he's been doing a ton with the whole crypto space here. So I just can't imagine that they don't have really a high level of information, essentially, in terms of what's going to do well long term. I do think I don't want to call it insider information, but I do think they have the best of the best. Obviously, talking to them about what they should be putting in their portfolio. So I would like to see them pick up some other things. Right, I'm really
XRP and
surprised.
Sol. That I'm interested as to why they didn't go
To
with any of
XRP.
those.
Yeah,
XRP and Sol.
I was gonna say the same thing. That's so funny. Yeah, XRP and Soul I think would be like two that they should probably would like immediately buy. So the fact that they're not there also, yeah, it does kind of make me question. But overall, when you're looking at XRP, I don't think that they need anything from uh, World Liberty Fi, right? I think they're going to be doing very, very well this next year, and honestly, onward, right? Over the next 5-10 years, I genuinely think XRP is going to be up way higher than where it is at this current moment. Same thing with Solana, of course. Cool. I don't
Any
think I have
others?
anything else in terms of altcoin plays.
Yeah,
It's
me neither.
kind of a shorter video that we wanted to kind of hop on and just kind of dissect the market and the macro and everything that was going on over these last 24 hours here. But hope you got some what's the word
Alpha.
I'm looking for?
Some
Uh,
alpha. There's
some
no alpha.
not even alpha,
Some
more
geeks.
just a compassion for your crypto portfolio. And some maybe some hope, right? Maybe a little bit of hope sprinkled on there
I
that
don't know.
you're going to be looking at brighter days over these next few weeks. So
Yeah.
again, don't get too scared. There's multiple 30 to 40% dips in every bull run. If you were to sell out on each one of them, you would have missed the entire bull run from there out. Um, just keep that in mind, have that conviction, and just remember, right? This wasn't even a scenario where we saw a black swan event, right? It's not like the world economy is going into a recession or there's a huge war breaking out or something that's going to cause a long-standing impact, right? They put a tariff threat out, it spooked the market, and we recovered in less than 14 hours. Just remember that. Think about that. Take it in, sit on it for a second, and just remember, right? Like there isn't some crazy thing that's ending the financial markets for the foreseeable future, right? That's not the case here. Give it some time. We might be looking at almost a 4K ETH 2 weeks from now, and you're gonna look back and let me tell you, you're not even gonna remember today. So just remember
Unless you
that
got liquidated.
unless you got liquidated, and that's why two rules, right? Don't leverage trade unless you're an expert at it. And let me tell you, if you're thinking you're not an expert, you're definitely not an expert. Because those that are an expert, they know it, right? That they're eating and breathing this stuff daily. If that's not the case for you, then you've gotten lucky maybe, but you're definitely not an expert. So don't think you are. Always be humble. When you get cocky, that's how you get wrecked, right? And the other piece of this is always own some Bitcoin. The decoupling idea here is no longer an idea. These dips are showing you it in real time, right? Like Bitcoin is not going to. All coins are dependent on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin was to drop 20%, they are going to get absolutely wrecked. But Bitcoin going up 20% does not mean that you're going to see the altcoins go absolutely insane like they did in the past, right? Like they might not move as quickly. So the decoupling theory is definitely here. It's the truth, and you need to take into account that Bitcoin could essentially run up without alts doing the same thing. So that's why we're here. We're here to kind of break this stuff down and make it make sense and give all of you our input and our thought process behind what's going on. Definitely break down the macro environment and where we think the market's going over the short term. So um, that's all I got. Dante, anything to close this out here?
Yeah, I think the one thing that you made me think of is like now I look at, and you really have to drill this into your mind, if it's your altcoin versus Bitcoin. It has never mattered more. So if you're not outperforming Bitcoin, or you don't think your alt's going to outperform Bitcoin, just hold Bitcoin, DCA Bitcoin. Life will be good. Um, but really drill that in your head. Like when you're thinking about what altcoins you want to hold, think about, is there going to be a chance in which this actually outperforms Bitcoin? If not, just hold Bitcoin or hold Solana, which is obviously like the next best thing at this point. Ethereum doesn't want to pump. Eventually it'll pump, but right now it looks like shit. But it will come back up. But no, I think it's obvious. I think everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing in this market. It's just that it's usually impatience that causes us to do silly things. Silly things.
Yep, I would agree. And didn't get too much into the Dennis Porter topic that I just remembered I was going to bring up, but just kind of just was going to sum up a little bit along the lines of just how the states are continuing to move towards their strategic reserves. How a couple countries like Switzerland, obviously the U.S., Russia, etc., are starting to push towards getting actual legislation put into place. So that is all going to continue to drive Bitcoin, and in turn hopefully drive Ethereum over the next 11, 12 months, until we start to see a top. But we'll leave it there. We'll leave some information for our next episode. Hope you got a lot out of today, and hope it gave you some confidence that things are going to be a little sunnier over these next few weeks. Dante's praying. We'll all be praying for your bags.
Yeah, facts. But yeah, I got nothing else, man. So
Two bros, one blockchain. Have a great night, everyone.
peace.